All right, I think we're live, Dave. I'll turn it over to you. Well, first and foremost, let me start off by saying this. Anybody watching, anybody listening, we are still digesting the Kai Wagner news that The Athletic dropped through Tom Bogert and Pablo Maurer, where he has allegedly, it's still to be worked through, and we know that Tom and Pablo are as accurate and as reliable as they get in terms of MLS reporting. So we understand that it's an ongoing situation. So that's why we're a little behind. I know we initially said 8:45. It's 8:53. So we just want to acknowledge that we're behind. We're a little late, but still really, really excited to be here as, again, we digest the Kai Wagner news. And we have a guest, Dave.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, obviously, Matt, as it says below, from Bootleg MLS is here today to, give a preview of some new clothing, some new lines dropping, and perhaps give us a little insight on what might be to come later this week and the upcoming weeks. But of course, as sort of Jose said, the news obviously regarding Kai Wagner has obviously put a dampener on the podcast. Very, very serious allegations, which of course we will, as a podcast, won't comment too much on because we want to hope that we'll let obviously the MLS and the clubs and everyone do their due course in the incident, and it's a very serious allegation, and so that's as far as I'm willing to go on it at the moment. I don't want to comment too much, but of course, again, it also overshadows what was a very, very impressive performance from the Philadelphia Union on Saturday night. Obviously, Matt, you are a New England Revolution fan, which obviously a nice sort of little link into the podcast itself. Obviously, before going into the game, of course, obviously the Revs beat the Union in the final game of the regular season. Did that sort of, heading into Saturday's game, did that somewhat increase your expectations going into the game at Subaru Park?
Yes, that's an understatement. 1,000%. I thought that in that decision day game against Philly, the Revs looked maybe about as good as they had all year. Like, that was maybe the most complete game that we had. There were other games where we scored more goals or, whatever, but that was a game where, we had some guys filling in spots. We had some people stepping up into positions that they don't normally play. Everybody looked really good. So going into Saturday night, I was like brimming with confidence that, maybe this will be a situation where, hey, we'll come out and shock the world a little bit here. But it was Philly. I knew that it was going to be a tough game. I knew that you guys always give us such a fight. It's such an East Coast, Northeast, type thing where it's just like a rock fight, most of the game. And it's so much fun to watch. I have to say though, I'm not fully down and out. I'm not 100% down and out right now. We did not play well. That second goal was kind of a weird, almost own goal type thing. So if you take that one off the board, it's a 2-1 game, and we're going to be at home. Foxborough is a weird place to play. So I'm hoping some of that weirdness rubs off on the game, and the Revs come out with a win, and we can push it back to a third game in Philly, which, if there is a third game in Philadelphia, I will be there. I will be in attendance.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, I will be in attendance. So even more of a reason to hope for a third game.
It's interesting you mentioned that second goal because, Dave, I trust you either watch the game or watch the highlights. And that second goal was just such an interesting situation where you got to give credit to Mikel Ua, right? Finding himself at the right spot in the right situation. But it's funny you mentioned that because my wife's cousin, who I've known since he was 4 or 5, has, as he's grown up, he is now out of college, and it goes to show, man, how young they were, or maybe how old I am now. But he had actually, unfortunately or fortunately, he thought he had put money on Carranza scoring, accidentally put the money on Ua. So when that goal when that goal happened, he was actually really nervous of are they going to count it as an own goal? Is it going to be an UA goal? Just because of how quick of a deflection it was.
So fast.
Right?
It was so fast.
And the bookkeepers get so interesting in terms of with headers, for example, when the player heads it down, hits the post, hits the keeper, it's a goalkeeper own goal versus actually
Yeah.
being like, you know, a goal by a
I didn't
player.
know
So we were a
that.
little nervous.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Oh man, that's super interesting.
You were
no,
saying,
that's
Matt,
all-
what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, and on top of that, like that was Dave Romney, who like that ball deflected off of, which is like
Yeah.
so uncharacteristic of him to like have something like that happen. So it just goes to show how fast of a play it was, and just how, you know, if you take that one off the board, the game looks a lot different at the end of it. So I
You
think that
sound
we
an awful
can.
lot like Clint T.
Yeah, right. I'm hopeful. I think we can bounce back. I definitely think, you know, we showed it just a couple weeks ago that we can play a good game against Philly at home. So we'll see. It's going to be tough though. Like covering you guys is always so hard. You guys don't have like a pure, like in my opinion, as a non-Philly fan, you guys don't necessarily have that like pure goal scorer, but you guys score a lot of goals. So like, who do you prioritize? Like when you're, you know, making a strategy, it's like, hey, there's 7 guys who at any point can just put one in the back of the net. Like everybody's got to be back at all times.
seven guys that can put it back in the net, but only one that does it from the penalty spot.
Hey,
I don't know where you
No.
went. I was gonna say, Dave, I don't know where you want to go from this. Obviously, we started talking about the game. Do you kind of want to walk through like a progression of the game, right? Talk about maybe the penalty spot, everything. However you want to go about it.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, of course, I think as sort of Matt sort of mentioned, obviously with the Revs beating the Union heading into decision day, it didn't fill me with the most confidence going into the game. I thought if the Union could get out with like a little, a lucky 1-0 win or 2-1 or something, especially with the weird run of form they went on that to close the regular season. It was just, I think, was it 5 successive draws, a couple of wins, like either side of a couple of wins and then defeat. Like it was a really, really weird sort of stretch of games heading into this playoff run. I just didn't expect the Union to sort of, burst into life as they did. And I think, as we've said throughout the season, as long as they start hitting their stride and start playing their best football, their best play, come playoff time, then who cares? And funny enough, they haven't really shown signs of that, but they looked back to the Union at times on Saturday as they did during the 2022 season in terms of the way they were going forward, creating chances, and so just going to the Mikel Uar goal, like that's something this team has lacked all season. Is that player, a striker in the box, gambling, going for the cross, going for a low cross. Like we haven't really seen that much this season. I think it was great to see Uar getting in that position to attack the ball inside the box, a low cross inside the 6-yard box. Because typically when the Union do that, there's either no one around there or someone's just coming in late at the back post and missing it, or or no one's in the box at all. It was good that Uar was in the right position at the right time. And of course, when you're in and around there and you're willing to get on the end of a cross, sometimes that one piece of luck, the lucky bounce, all you need is it to come off your backside and go in, and it's essentially what it did for Macau, and hopefully it does him a world of good, especially with, we'll get onto it with Carranza obviously being forced off through it, injury or knock, whatever it was. I'm not too sure if there's been any update on that yet.
Yeah, I asked Jim about it in the post-match press conference. He had mentioned that throughout the match, Carranza had been sort of feeling a little weird throughout it. He was sort of feeling a little tightness. The key word that Jim used was just not feeling right. And I think it was it the 63rd minute when this change officially happened? I'm trying to remember here and look. 70.
I think Quinn came in, didn't he?
Yeah, 62nd minute. I think that's when Carranza said, "All right, guys, I think I need to come off because it really wasn't feeling right." And of course, Jim trusts his players on their bodies better than anybody else, right? Who's going to know their own body better than the players? Yeah. So when Carranza was, at halftime, Jim mentioned that he asked him, like, "You better not be bullshitting me, right? Because we need you. We need you to perform. We need you to be there come November 8th." So he carried on. 63rd minute came off. My understanding is, and I talked to him super briefly as he was getting food in the mix zone, and he mentioned that it was it just didn't feel okay. Just a little tightness there that he was afraid to go for one last sprint, that he decided to just call it. So I like to think that as much as a lot of people bellyache about this 10-11 day span between matches, this is the situation where the Union will come away with something good from it, right? Giving a player like Carranza that extra time to really make sure that quad is okay.
I was going to
Yeah,
say
I
that's
think-
something that we're dealing with too. Carlos coming out in the 26th minute. I mean, that obviously when a former MVP comes out of the game, like the entire landscape has completely changed, and your entire strategy is different at that point. And yeah, we're in the same kind of boat. You know, I've even gone as far as to think, do you sit Carlos for Wednesday in hopes that he's, you know, those extra few days really do him a world of wonders, and you give him, you know, you bring him in for a third game on Saturday? Or, you know, do you have to play him because it's do or die, and like you just have to hope that he's good enough to go?
Yeah, that's an interesting like question, right? Because and maybe we can talk about it super briefly, but there's this new playoff mechanic of the first to two out of three, right? Where, you know, after the press conference, Jim mentioned that he was surprised that when Carlos Gil came out and the situation that the game was in, and as they made more substitutions, that he felt kind of confused and surprised that they're going for it, especially considering that each one of these games, whether it's 3-1 or 10-0, it ultimately it counts
Just
as a singular
one
stroke
win.
on the one win, nothing else. There's no aggregate anything. So to me, it was sort of like an interesting thing of like, well, you're losing, like maybe just pack it up, right? And sort of what I felt with Kansas City last night, right? Like at that point, you're just like just cruise. You don't have to put any more bodies in the way, you know. Which, you know, it's a dynamic that people are not appreciating, and that's fair. I think that it's very flawed, but ultimately, I think so far, and I don't know what the score of the Orlando game. I think it was 1-0 when I finally came downstairs.
It's still 1-0. We are deep into added time.
There you go. I think it's proven to give a lot of exciting games, but I think that might just be a result of playoffs versus having 3 matches, right? I think the tactical aspect is different and flawed in a way.
Well, I mean, we saw it when they went a few years ago. I remember when they went to like the single game elimination for the entirety of the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think everyone was like, what is happening? Like, this doesn't prove like who was the best team during the regular season, this, that, and the other thing. But then like you watch the games, and all of the games were really exciting and like really fun, interesting soccer games to watch. So I think that that's what they're trying to do, but without like having MLS Cup be played at the end of December, you know, like it used to be.
No, I think it's obviously it was a weird thing as well. I think like I just sort of mentioned with the 3-game dynamic, like I think it's just weird being an English fan as well, and you sort of see them incorporating like it is a very it's a very American thing to do the best of 3 series, isn't it? You see like the baseball like playoff essentially is like the baseball playoff wild card, isn't it? Essentially like best of 3 series. Like it's to me it's baffling, but it's obviously a money. Well, it's obviously a cash ploy or at least a ploy for Apple to make it seem like their product is better value for money. But for me personally, to make your product better value for money is to one improve your spoiler free part of your website. Because again, being from the UK, there are times where I can't watch games, and it's sort of like I can't watch the game on my PC because I'll go on the Apple TV website, and the first thing that it shows on the game is the score, and I'm like, I can't do that. Okay, I'll put the spoiler free thing on my mobile phone, and it's the first thing that you click on because you have to go through the teams and then find the game. The first thing that comes up is goal in this game, shot in this game, keeper save, penalty awarded. It's like I've asked for spoiler free, and you're still giving me like all these highlights, and you've had the whole season to figure this out. And I'm sure loads of people have complained. Like, how have you all got through this? But again, to me, it's just baffling. Like, again, I mean, who knows? I think, of course, when you do lose that first game, you probably are slightly more in favour of it because then it gives you that second opportunity to essentially,
Oh yeah,
oh yeah, it gives you. Again, to me, it's just baffling. That you obviously, and if it was over 2 legs, I could completely understand it. Like, first leg in New England, second leg in Philly, and that way I could completely understand that. But to go best of 3, and for me, it's not for me. And of course, I saw some articles over the weekend about preferences over it being slanted. Again, it's not for me personally, but if other people enjoy it, But I mean, again, my opinions of it will be very, very skewed depending on whether the union actually.
Dave, you know why the app doesn't work well for you?
What?
because your country couldn't keep 13 colonies together. You expect an app to work? Like I don't think that's gonna happen.
Boom! What? I mean, you're slandering me. This is an American app.
No, and you know what, David? It's so interesting, right? Because I agree with you. I've talked to a couple of people, just people that are, I don't know, fair weather, maybe not the right term, but people that would, hear Matt and Dave, you probably wouldn't know this, but people who would literally just turn on PHL 17, which is the local channel that used to have the games, or used to rely on. I know the Union did it thanks to the Beambo partnership. I think they would just put their name on it, and it was to the point where I lived, which was over 200 and some miles away from the stadium, and I was still doing the trek from time to time. At the time, I was just sort of like a partial season ticket holder, but the Union website would actually air if you were away from the stadium far enough. Every single match was actually shared on the website, which was basically Apple TV before Apple TV came, right? Minus the national broadcast, which of course it had Fox, whatever, ABC, no issues there. But in talking to those people who used to rely on that, they feel kind of like, well, I used to turn it on to have background noise, and now like I'm not gonna sign up for Apple TV. Though you must admit, and I should be doing more research on this before I speak, but it seems like Philadelphia has been one of those teams that has really benefited from like the free game of the week.
Mm-hmm.
It seems
I think we did too. We were on free game of the week, I feel like, probably
quite
7 or 8 times this season.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's like a flex situation as teams get better or they get worse, and they can swap teams in. I don't think it's like a predetermined thing, like at the beginning of the season, kind of like how the NFL is. I like to think that there's some flexibility, but yeah, I think that's a difficulty even within the domestic market, Dave. That makes it tough for even locals that can't watch it.
I think it's a very. Again, as you sort of said, like it's another subscription as well on top of what you have to pay. Already for over in America, all your other subscriptions you got to pay for, whether you pay for, cable or if you go through the YouTube TV route, or whatever else. That's just another subscription on top of whatever else you're paying, which is again annoying. But as you said, Jose, there was 3 avenues to watch it, and it sort of has been taken away. Now you got to listen to Taylor Twellman fucking badgering on every week about crap that's just
whoa.
I just don't. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan. It's like
Dave doesn't like capitalism either.
He's not the keenest guy in the union. I'll just say that. But I mean, that's just my
all-time club leading scorer, Taylor Twellman. Please address him properly. Thank you very much.
All-time leading scorer.
Well, listen, Taylor Twellman, he cut his teeth with the Union before he signed that ESPN contract that then led him. He was actually a color commentator with the Union.
Really?
Was it for? Yeah, he was with the Union before Danny Higginbottom came. I think he was with the Union for 3 or 4 years, I believe.
Wow.
Just doing every single game. And I remember seeing him around the stadium, and my brother has one goofy ass picture with him because he caught him, as he was walking the concourse after going to get something or just going to see somebody in the stadium. I'm guessing maybe it was like a, New England's in town and he went to say hi to a coach or someone in the staff that he knew from his time. So yeah, Taylor Twellman. And this is what's most interesting, Matt, and you probably witnessed this or from being a New England fan, but like, the tendrils of the teams, right? Like with New England, a very long history and just how deep those tendrils are across the league. The Union are really starting to feel that way now that we're approaching the, 15th year celebrating next year, I think. A little bit longer if you count the, 2 or so years, 3 years of the Sons of Ben, the supporter group petitioning for the team or whatever. But it's just interesting how to see the different connections. And I know we're getting off topic here, so I'm sorry, Dave. Back to you.
The same. I mean, that's all Sebby says. Should have put the trigger warning before the show. We'll be going on 90 minutes. 90 minutes. So. No, but I think as well. Just to mention, obviously, Danny Higginbottom as well, probably the best colour commentator in the MLS, and he's English. So I'll just throw that out there. But I think you can again. I think Jose. I thought that was another big thing. I think when with the game said to move on Apple TV, I think a lot of Union fans. I think we actually also discussed it on the podcast last season, the end of last season, like how gutted we were to be losing Danny, obviously in his commentary. And obviously, we got fortunate of him being picked up by Apple and him obviously being one of the main sort of been stationed in Philadelphia for most of the games. But I don't know with you, Matt. Obviously, did you guys from New England? Obviously, you had your regular sort of local commentary team for every game. Did Apple retain them, or did they go like a different route? Or
well, it's super interesting actually. So one of our color commentator is Charlie Davies, who has a history with the Union, obviously. And then our main analyst is a guy named Brad Feldman, who's been doing it for God knows how long. He's been the voice of the Revs like for as long as I've been a fan of them. And like we are actually, I think we were one or two. Apple or MLS released some data. We were like one or two in fan bases that switched over to like the radio broadcast, so you could hear your local commentators. And like apparently New England fans were like the highest group of people who were like, nah, we're gonna listen to the guys we know.
No, I think again it does. Again, I think as you've said, like you'd rather listen to the guys you've become so accustomed to listening to, and I think that's probably another big change with the Apple TV thing. It did sort of
a similar story to what Jose was saying. It's like Brad Feldman is the kind of guy. One of the road trips that I do almost every year is I go to Montreal for that away game, just because it's such a easy trip. It's like a 5.5 hour drive. It's beautiful. Like you get to drive through Vermont and you get to drive through like all these mountains and stuff. It's gorgeous. But like, I've had beers like out in Montreal with Brad Feldman and, before he passed, Paul Mariner, just like out at an Irish pub, like in the middle of Montreal, just like talking soccer. And it was one of the best memories from a soccer trip that I have. And like, that's why we are so attached to these guys and why you see us as a group being like, no, I'll listen to the voice of the guy I've been listening to for like 10 years. I'm good.
That's awesome, man. No, I and I can relate to that in a different sense, right? I'm and maybe it's because I'm friendly with him. I have a really good relationship, but the Spanish voice for the Philadelphia Phillies and the Philadelphia Eagles is a good friend of mine. The Spanish voice on the radio, his name's Oscar Budahen, and I've gotten to know him very, very well this past year, and just a lot of really good connecting back and forth. But when the Phillies were playing throughout the regular season, it was always a joy to just hit that SAP button and hear his voice, right? Versus having to hear anybody else, really. And nothing against Tom McCarthy or John Kruk or any of those guys, but there's a sense of comfort in hearing the person that you're used to or want to hear. Period. So neither here or there. But Dave, do you think we need to go further into the game? I feel like we know what's going on, right? We're going into a tough New England game on a really shitty surface.
It's not good. It's not good. It's not good.
I was obviously ran sort of looking at the end of the game and just sort of mentioned Net Harrier scored, and I thought Gustavo Bo probably scored the pick of the goals. That absolute thunder bastard from leaving Blake with no chance. But I think, as we all know, Bo is probably one of the hardest strikers of a ball, not just probably in the MLS but in the world. I mean, so again, he's going to be another. I think he's going to be another key name we have to look out for later in the season. But as you sort of said, that New England pitch is going to be something.
It's going to be scrappy. It's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, and at the press conference, I asked Jim and Matt if hopefully and hopefully not. Hopefully, I get to meet you soon, but hopefully it's not on November 12th when the possibility of you coming. I hope that's not the case. But when you do come to the Union campus, you'll notice a beautiful new facility that has come up in terms of turf fields and grass practice fields outside of the stadium, which is awesome. I think that's stage 1 of their new youth development facility. But I asked Jim, and obviously it's a contentious question and something that the players don't like, but Jim, like, you have this beautiful turf facility, and I restrained so hard from saying you really don't have an excuse when it comes to the surface if you have what you could practice on. And he of course is very diplomatic and mentioned something along the lines of players, I respect their choice. I understand the not necessarily dangers, but understand the concerns in terms of playing on that surface and what comes with it. And, all throughout lead up and talking with the Mexican players who I think 1 or 2 teams in Mexico still have it, but all of them, in terms of going to Seattle, being in Seattle or being in Portland, New England, etc., all of them were saying, yeah, it feels like I played a game and a half after I'm done playing 90 minutes, right? So I can completely understand that his frustration, or the players' frustrations, I should say, of not wanting to practice. But I would envision that team will soak up that artificial grass right outside of the stadium and go at it. Because again, he also mentioned it seems like every single time that the Union go up to New England, it rains. And it's just a nasty wet surface.
we call that the Bob Kraft weather machine. That's what we as fans call it. Because, like, if you've ever been to Gillette is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Like, the stadium is situated in the middle of nowhere, but there's like a lot that they've built up around it. But like when you're there, you're in a parking lot, and it's just parking lot for as long as you can see. And like, it's so funny because we'll be driving to the stadium and it'll be sunny, like at like where I am. I'll drive 25 minutes up the highway and it's like overcast, or like the wind is starting to like do weird stuff. And like, we're always just like, oh, Bob turned on the weather machine. I guess we're getting ready for a weird day today. Like, it's just a running joke we have.
It's like something out of like the Looney Tunes, right? Like you could just label Acme on it and you have this cloud making machine.
Exactly.
Back to you, Dave.
No, I think, of course, you sort of mentioned as well, going into that game, there are obviously 2 names that key, very important names of both teams that will not be playing. And of course, for the Union, it'll be Julian Carranza. For New England, it could be Carlos Hill, and sort of Jose alluded to as well. I think I said last week on the show, and I think I said previously, wasn't a big fan of the 11-day break. I understand, but purely because especially if you've won that first game, you want to play as soon as possible. You want to go straight to that second game, keep that momentum going, and it also gives the opposition a chance to regroup and refocus, and have that longer turnaround, be able to change things, like take more time to change things up. I think for you, Matt, are you happy that there's that 11-day sort of break in between the games? Not just because it can somewhat stump the Unions or stop the Union sort of momentum that they're trying to build up, as well as it gives you guys the time to build, like potentially have Carlos Hill back for the game.
Yeah, it's an interesting it's an interesting kind of dichotomy of like, what, pick your poison, what punishment do you want more? Because it's like the 11-day break gives us a chance to get Carlos Hill back, which is obviously a huge thing. But just like you were saying, momentum is a big deal. And I am a subscriber to the idea, Jose, you'll know from gambling, a hungry dog runs faster. New England need this game really bad. So like, we're gonna come out, probably with a lot of energy, really flying. I worry that the 11-day layoff does something to that mentality. Like, does it cool that mentality a little bit of like, hey, I'm really pissed off. We played a bad game. I want to get out there and keep our season going. How long can you stew in that? Can you stew in that for 11 days and keep that kind of attitude going? Or, do you eventually kind of cool off? They say players have a short memory. Like, do you just move on and like, it's a whole new game now? So I'm actually more concerned with the 4-day break, or is it a 4-day break like afterwards? Because you guys, more than likely, being up one game, will probably sit in a little bit more, as we'll probably be attacking a little bit more. So it's like, who's going to expel more energy? Being under siege for 90 minutes or trying to siege for 90 minutes?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And I think you're absolutely right, where, if you're taking this 11-day break and you're the Union, you better take advantage of that, because the pendulum can swing just so quickly with a New England win on the 8th, and then 4 days later coming back to Subaru Park, which admittedly is a very difficult place for any team, but a team that just defeated the Union, which I guess we technically just saw that happen this past weekend.
Right.
It's such an interesting turnaround in terms of 4, though the Union, with the way that their schedule has been, and as a result of success, more or less, unfortunately, have gotten used to playing on a 3-day break, right? With Leagues Cup, and CONCACAF Champions Cup now, formerly Champions League, and then you throw in US Open Cup, and the ebbs and goes of you have all those competitions. Well, the actual regular MLS season games have to like shift around, and
Right.
Dave, was it like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks of just 3-day game, like every 3 days
Yeah,
the Union had a game, right? It was heavy.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. At the moment, it just was non-stop, wasn't it? It was. I mean, again, but I think, well, especially on the Leagues Cup, it was essentially literally every 3 days, every 3.5 days, and it was the same during the CCL run and the backlog of games, from missing that. And just add that as well. Isn't it the international break? Would the weekend of the third game be during the international break?
I think it's shortly after that game. That's when they go into the international break. But then you also have to take into account, and this is from someone who has been reading the CBA back and forth to inform myself with the Kai Wagner situation. Per the CBA, the players also are mandatorily going to be given a break for Thanksgiving. How and where that lands, I'm still a little shaky, or I need to look at a calendar a little bit better, and the CBA itself. But I need to. It's gonna be such a confusing. It's difficult. It's so difficult in terms of timing, especially when you're trying to build momentum, as we were
Right.
just talking, right? So
Yeah.
it's. I hope, I really do hope, and to your detriment, Matt, that the Union take advantage of it all. This well, not this Wednesday, but the following.
I mean, you're even seeing it with home and away splits. Like New England this year, I think it was April. We had like 4 home games in April, and then we had no home games the month of May, except for the last weekend in May, which was Memorial Day weekend. So like no one is really around anyway because everyone's kind of doing something for that. So like it's even with that scheduling, you're seeing such a congestion and like teams being on the road for weeks at a time where they're just not, they're not getting that home cooking. They're not getting in front of their home fan base for like a month. And yeah, I think something's definitely got to be done. I mean, you're even seeing, Jose, I'm sure that with kids, like you're seeing no afternoon games this season, like no 1 or 3 p.m. kickoffs, like all year long.
The only one that we took advantage of, and I think it was the only one that actually happened outside of a 5 p.m., the New England game this past weekend,
Right.
was the third place. Not that you would know about this, but the third place match for Leagues Cup, where I think it kicked off at like 3 or 4 p.m. or something like that against Monterrey. And that's actually when we took my 3.5-year-old to his very first soccer game ever. And what was the beauty of it, in a sad way, is I think a lot of the supporters were either not interested because it's a third place game, right? Who's the best loser type of situation. But also just how poorly the Union played against Miami, that not many showed up. So we had an entire row to the 3 of us with my wife and my son just to sit there and let him roam the aisle a little bit, and not be worried about him stepping on someone's fries or spilling someone's beer or beer being spilled on him. So no, it's interesting, and I think a lot of changes are going to come next year in terms of scheduling. But we'll see. I think maybe this wraps up our conversation in terms of the game that just happened. Excited to see what happens. But Matt, I think people are really interested to learn about you, to be completely blunt and honest with you. You hide per se behind the MLS or bootleg MLS app. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I have been a soccer fan for my entire life, as most of us who watch, MLS are. I played soccer like all the way up into the college level. And yeah, it was actually my high school English teacher, who also was my soccer coach, who took me to my first Revs game in 2005. Wow. I'll never forget. It was the Eastern Conference semifinals against the then New York Metro Stars. And we were down a goal on aggregate to start the game. The Metro Stars scored in the first half, and then the Revs stormed back and scored 3 in the second half to move on to the next round. And I was hooked from day one. Like that was it.
Wow. Yeah, it's fun. I always find it interesting how people fall into this league, right? For me, it's more of just, being close. And I grew up in South America, so of course soccer was sort of the main sport that we played. Though I wasn't as big of a fan as my brothers, but grew to love it and played high school, etc. But then the the distance once this team happened in 2010 was just kind of like, okay, I guess I have a team to root for, right? And started going, etc. But that's a touching story.
Yeah, that was, and what was funny was I was a junior in high school at that point. I went through the rest of my life. I would occasionally go to Revs games, but at the time I lived in New Hampshire, which is about 2 hours from Gillette. Like where I lived in the state was about 2 hours from Gillette. But like me and my friends, we would pack in the car and make the 2 hour drive and then make the 2 hour drive home. And in 2014, I moved down to Providence, Rhode Island, which is just outside of Gillette. It's only about 20 minutes away.
I have family there.
Oh, awesome. Wonderful. Yeah. So I started going. I actually, it was the summer of the World Cup. So like locally here, there was a bar that people went to watch the US games. I didn't know anyone. I literally didn't know a single person. I just showed up to watch the games and ended up like the guy that I stood next to in that first game was the best man at my wedding. Like,
oh, that's so cool.
And then like the other guy that I met there, like we're still best friends, like to this day. Like, so it was that kind of thing that then they were like, hey, we go to Revs games. You should start coming to Revs games. And I started going. The next season I started, I bought season tickets. A few years after that, I became the president of one of our supporter groups. I got involved like at that level. My friends and I, we did a Revs podcast for a while. So I've been kind of in the Revs community for a really long time. And this has always been something that's been super passionate of mine. It's something that's been really important to me my entire life. And I wanted to explore a little different avenue on it that I've been thinking about for a pretty long time.
So let's talk about that avenue. And I say this as someone who has talked to people who Live Breathe Football, for example. That's a brand that has been up and coming here in Philadelphia, and they just had this really awesome collaboration in terms of the Philadelphia Union. But I know I'm not breaking any news here, but the LBF has also a contract now with MLS that every single year they're gonna keep the Union but rotate 5 other teams to make gear for.
Right.
So every single year they're gonna rotate, keep the Union 5 teams, keep the Union 5 other teams. And the reason I bring him up is because he probably had the same feeling you had, where is the cool clothing for this team that I love, right? Where is this leisure wear, or where is this jacket that I want to wear, or crew neck that I think I could make, or I can do it better than what's there available? Is where did this inspiration come from?
Yeah, so I mean that's really it. My best friend John and I, he's a Rev season ticket holder, and like we would walk into the pro shop and we would like just not really see too much that we wanted to wear, and like specifically what we really wanted was stuff that we would wear any other day, like not on a game day, like stuff that we would wear out with friends, stuff that we would wear like to go grocery shopping in, like stuff that we would just throw on for any old reason, not because we're going to a Revs game. And we just felt like that wasn't there, that we couldn't find any of it. And the stuff that we did find that we really liked, usually it's like it's plastered with like the Adidas logo or the Fanatics logo. And like it becomes almost less about the team you're wearing and more like that you're wearing an Adidas sweatshirt or a Fanatics t-shirt or something. So I had this idea for a really long time of like doing a line of, being a kid from New Hampshire, of course, the one type of music I gravitated to when I was like in middle school was rap music. So like I came across that like kind of imagery of like those 90s bootleg kind of style shirts. And I just have always loved them. I've always thought they were like really clever and they just looked really good and stuff like that. So that was like, hey, this doesn't exist for MLS players. Like they don't have this kind of stuff. Their teams don't put out this kind of stuff for them. Why don't I do it?
All right. So I want to ask you about your designs, and I'm going to start off by showing the shirt that I know has been released, and they were stacked for me, and this is sort of like a live reaction in a way, in a very goofy way. But I know of this shirt because I know of a couple of folks in the fan base that love it and rock this shit everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's the Martinez shirt, right?
Yep.
Talk to me about where do you come up with this shit, man? Because this is so interesting to me.
So what I love about this idea so much, and the thing that I'm trying to keep as like a throughway through the entire thing, is that this is MLS stuff for MLS fans. So like, and it's being done by people who care about this league, who love this league, who love the teams that you love. This idea was a Philly fan. They asked for this shirt. Like, I put it out on Twitter that like, hey, I'm going to start making these shirts and I would love to know some players that you would love to see. And a Philly fan responded with, I think they even said El Brujo. They didn't even say like Martinez, which like Martinez for me is Kevin Garnett. He is the type of player.
A shit talker.
He's the type of player that if he plays for your team, you absolutely adore this guy. But if you play against him, you fucking hate him so much. And I hate so much. But I have to say, like, I put that shirt out for sale. I hadn't even touched one yet. I was that early in the process. But like, I put out, hey, Philly fans, I'm selling this shirt. And within like a day, I had 7 orders from Philly fans.
And one of them is this woman right here.
Yeah.
And I think she's probably, and honestly, at this rate, you may as well just ask her to model some of the shirts for you.
Oh,
because,
my gosh.
Or honestly, just ask her. I'll get you in touch with her or get her pictures and send them over so you can take away those. I know that they're like AI generated, right? The display pictures on the site, but we gotta start putting some of these actual like fan base pictures, and better yet, maybe I can get a picture of her with Mike and wearing the new gear, right? So we can put it while we're at the tailgate or something like that. It'd be pretty cool to just kind of have it be that the image that people see when they go to like seek out the shirt.
It's really been, the response has been absolutely amazing. Like just today, for instance, Jose,
you released a whole lot of shit.
I got I think I'm up over 100 new followers just today. Like just in today alone. I haven't checked since we've been recording, but like the response has just been absolutely amazing. Obviously, anytime you put something out in the world, there's like that insecurity around like, are people going to like this? Are people going to make fun of me for like putting this out there? But like the response has been so amazing. People are putting in orders and like talking it up and sharing things of teams they don't even root for. Like I have people retweeting, like I tweeted out before the Nashville Orlando game, like the 2 shirts that I have for those teams, and like Portland fans are retweeting it, like RSL fans are retweeting it, LA Galaxy fans are retweeting it. Like it's amazing. It's like absolutely incredible, and like I'm so grateful like for the response that people have given. That it like keeps driving me to like want to keep delivering more stuff for people.
I feel like the grittier the player, the easier the
it
t-shirt
works so
becomes,
much
right?
Better. It works
because
so much better.
Was it RSL? They were suggesting Diego Luna, no?
Yeah, so we've got some Diego Luna ones. Like Seattle, think of Seattle, like the roster that Seattle has had, like the last, even 10 years. The shirt that they asked for is Nuhu. They wanted Nuhu as their first shirt, and like multiple fans wanted Nuhu. Portland was the same way. You guys should really like put aside your differences. You have a lot more in common than you think. They were like, we need an Evander shirt. We have to have an Evander shirt. I'm like,
oh my God.
Whatever you guys want, like that's fine.
All right. So I have another shirt here on the stack of the 3. I'm just going to pull one up here. And for those that are watching, I think this is the first time that anybody's really seeing it.
No one has seen it. Actually, as we speak, I am going to put these 2 shirts up for sale on the website.
Hold that thought. Not yet. Not yet. Or does it take a little bit to refresh?
I can wait to unhide them. They are still hidden though. So
this is one. And of course, it's fitting the captain. That's such an easy one. Look at that.
Yep. So really excited about this one. So this one, there's actually, so before the show, I mentioned to you guys that I was going to be doing something a little bit special, a little bit different with this one. So obviously,
and you can clearly before you go, this is clearly Mike's shirt because it's like a kid's small.
Yeah, when you asked for a small, I was like, oof, jeez.
If you know Mike, you know that this shirt, and I say this because Mike, and unbeknownst to me, I always, whenever you meet Mike, you'll be like, wow, this guy needs a couple of phone books. I mean, but his dad was a professional jockey, like a horse jockey.
Oh,
so
wow.
like, okay, genetically, it totally makes sense. So yeah, keep going. I'm sorry. I wanted to just clarify that.
So this was obviously like Bedoya is Philadelphia Union. Like there's no separating the two from each other. And with the news around like him possibly not being brought back to the team or being told that like he's not going to be brought back into the fold, obviously that's like a big shocker. But for me, one of the things that Alejandro Bedoya will always be known for me is that moment. I think it was 2018 where
microphone.
he went over and grabbed the microphone and like really called on people to do something about a big problem we have in this country. So right here, right now, I'm going to announce that 50% of the profits from every single Alejandro Bedoya t-shirt sold from now until the end of the year, 50% of the proceeds are going to go to Ceasefire PA, which is a gun violence advocacy group for Pennsylvania specifically. So yeah, 50% of the profits from now until the end of the year, so until December 31st, will go towards Ceasefire PA in Allie's name. So not in Bootleg's name, not in my name, but it's going to be a donation made in Allie's name. I haven't told him this. He knows nothing about this whatsoever. I literally have told you guys this, and that's the only people I've talked to about it.
We'll make sure to post it. We'll make sure we post the link as a network, Dave, and my own, and I'll tag him on, and he responds to this type of stuff. That is very, very kind and generous of you to do something like that.
Like I said, that is a moment that for me, like as a fan of a rival team, like a moment to tip your cap to somebody. And I know that even as recently as this year, like he wrote an article in The Athletic about this like topic. So I know that it is very important to him. And then especially with the unfortunate events that took place in Maine, just last week, it's touching even here in New England as it is everywhere. So this is my way of like, let's do something to give back, and in a name of a guy who really cares about this and like is really passionate about this and has really tried to make a difference.
All right, I think that's incredible, and we'll make sure. And I see that some people are going at it, so that's great. But we'll make sure that we get a proper link and tweet there for Alejandro, whether he notices or not. That's irrelevant. All we know is the gesture.
Exactly. There. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm reaching here on my right for the final one, and I think.
So I'm really excited about this one.
Okay.
I'm really pumped. This is a little bit different than what I have done in the past, but I think Philly fans are going to like it. This is special just for you guys. So, Jose, God. Do you want to do the reveal? This is the whole reason I wanted this to be a surprise. It's just so good. Like, it's just the only non-player that we will have, at least for a while, the only non-MLS player we will have up in the store will be the one, the only Jim Curtin will have his own shirt. Some call him the most stylish coach in MLS. So I figured with that moniker, he needed his own shirt.
Listen, you even got, and this is, yes, people are saying, I think she means it as in like, ha ha ha, my wallet's straining, to all of these very, very kind. But you even got Jim in the Prada jacket.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Come on now. I couldn't. He's just, the jackets are what he's known for. Like it's just too good. I couldn't have left it out.
That's incredible. I will selfishly have to find somebody, and I'm looking at some of the names here that I recognize. I may hand this over to them. And no, Palommi, I'm not gonna put that comment up because you're gonna steal my idea before I even say it. But I'm gonna hand this shirt over to somebody who I know that can easily get a signature. I'm gonna get this signed for sure by the man himself. This is an incredible fucking shirt, dude.
I appreciate
Awesome.
that so much.
Dude, that is flawless.
I was really happy with it when it came out, and like being a non-player, you know, it's a little bit harder to put one together and to decide like, you know, what images you want to use and like all the kind of stuff. But when this one came out, it was hard to keep it a secret. It was very hard to keep it a secret.
I may ask you offline. We can talk about it, but I have an idea that we can do something for charity in terms of. I'll just say maybe we get these. We get you send me another one or two, or I'll buy two, whatever, and we'll get them signed and maybe we can raffle them off for charity beyond the Bedoya stuff. I think that there's some other charities that could use a little bit of work, and I think the Philadelphia Union PR team would be interested in just literally giving them a silver Sharpie and signing his name on it. Sure.
And that's my thing too. It's like I want to so badly keep like continue to do stuff like this. Like my goal eventually is to get to a point where every player shirt, a portion is set aside for a charity that they care or are passionate about. And so I want to continue doing more stuff like this. I want to continue releasing more Philly stuff and more stuff across the league. Speaking of, I'll announce here for the first time on this Friday, I'm going to be doing a line of sweatshirts. They're like a collegiate kind of inspired sweatshirt. Jose, I don't know if you have the picture I sent to you on Twitter. If you want to throw up.
I'm trying to figure out how to do it. I must admit, Mike is usually the one that drives his machine. Dave and I are just the stupid faces that talk into the microphone. Yeah. So I apologize.
No. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing a line of sweatshirts this Friday. Philly is going to be in the initial drop of, I'm going to do 8 teams. And then, like I said, like if you have a player that you really want a shirt of, like send us a DM through Twitter, through Instagram. Let us know like who you'd like to see, and like I want to just put up a roster for every team of like things that people can choose from, and everyone can get something for themselves. And yeah, there it is. So this is like the collegiate kind of like inspired idea that we're going to be dropping on Friday. And I'm really, really excited about it. I'm super pumped for people to enjoy it, and I just hope people like it.
Hell yeah,
dude! That's incredible. That is, I'm actually really excited for that. I know awesome. I hate to use the word collaborate. I have very little with this, but I know you had asked for some ideas or suggestions. Oh, yeah. I think that'll be really, really cool. And I think I'm very excited to see what this one comes out like.
I'll tell Philly fans right now. Yeah. Jose told me that like a cult iconic kit for you guys is that black Biembo kit with the like kind of M that comes out and goes around. I'm already working on a design for like retro inspired t-shirts, like inspired by kits, like former kits and stuff from MLS teams. So that is number 1 on the list of ones that I'm trying to make happen. Yeah. So. Yeah, right there.
Yep, showed him the Bethlehem Steel, and that's the money one. That'll get people into it.
I was just going to
say, Dave, you had something.
I was going to say, obviously, man, I know you sort of mentioned just beforehand, you wanted to get like a roster of like from each team of like players, and I think you were sort of saying the amount of bizarre players you get. I think Gillian, I don't know if you missed the comment, Jose. Gillian said that husband Carl. For the One Team We Agree on podcast, so said they want a Joe Bendick shirt.
Joe Bendick.
Carl with the Joe Bendick shirt. So I mean,
we need to for that one, Matt. I'll make sure you get it, but you need Joe Bendick's LinkedIn picture. It is fucking fantastic.
That's like
perfect for a shirt. Yeah, we have. Bethlehem Steel is what we were referring to in terms of that jersey. So listen, this was awesome. I'm so glad that we were able to share this with the Union. I know we're trying to figure out a way to whether it's possible, I'm not sure, but finding ways to make these more accessible to more fans, and I think this is one way, right? So I'm hopeful that those watching live or after the fact really take Matt on, especially with that Bedoya shirt, right? And in terms of supporting what he's doing, but also I think he has no reason to do what he has announced in terms of the generosity of the 50% going to was it Ceasefire, right? Ceasefire PA being the charity of choice that he will make a gift in honor of Alejandro Bedoya, which is awesome, especially someone who has been, whether you like him or not, or like that he plays as much as he does, etc., has been the keystone, pun intended, of this entire operation with the Philadelphia Union for as many years. So it's so cool, and I'm really eager to see and hopefully get my hands on, Matt, shove on some of these other items that you're working on, because I would be more than happy to wear them at the stadium and continue to give you a platform. Because honestly, man, after this curtain one, I'm still in awe at this thing.
I really appreciate that. And honestly, like, you were just saying the reason, I've got no reason to do this. I mean, the way that I've been embraced by Philly fans and the way that my brand has been embraced by Philly fans is absolutely a reason enough to like try to do something to give back. Like, I can't speak highly enough of like just how generous the Philly fans have been with even just like sharing things and like getting word of mouth out there. Like you saw like how many retweets did we have on the show for like, hey, we're going to be going live at this time. And it's like, it's just so awesome to see. And I cannot say thank you enough to the Philly fans for keeping like really driving this train in the early days of what I'm trying to do here.
Maybe just maybe, if the website allows it, maybe a small discount code for these guys,
I'm looking
right?
into it right now. I've never created one, so I'm like trying to find where I would even do it. But as soon as I have
easiest
one...
discount code would be dupe.
Right, exactly.
No, that's awesome. Matt, it's been so great getting to know you. I know, again, you and I luckily I didn't scroll too far up with the back and forth we've had in terms of our communication, but I'm so glad that we were able to share something really, really cool that you're doing, and again, giving you, albeit not the largest platform, a platform to sort of share this stuff with our fans and fans of this team. It's amazing.
I can't thank you guys enough. It's been so much fun. I've had such a good time. I was looking forward to this. I was bragging about this to people like all weekend. It was a great time, and I can't thank you guys enough.
Well. I'll make sure if the game does happen on the 12th, which I hope it doesn't. I'll make sure you'll be my guest. I'll make sure that I'll stroll you around the park and
that would be awesome.
Show you about and introduce you to some people. So, Dave, any? I think we're maybe ready to close as we approach. I know we typically, when Mike's not here, Matt. When Mike's not here, it's like Pinocchio when the kids go to that island and they turn into donkeys, right? Everybody comes out to play. So we typically go for like an hour and a half when Mike's not here. But I know we want to be mindful of everyone's time. But Dave, any parting?
There's a shirt for you. There's a shirt for you, Mike. I promise we'll make up for it.
Well, believe me, and you know what? Like, I selfishly can't even steal it because I think maybe my one arm fits in the torso. Dude, this is incredible, man. I'll make sure to get some good photos and post them on Twitter and again tag Bedoya. Dave, any parting words before we go?
I mean, obviously, the main one there is obviously incredible shirts, and guys, if you are watching, not only make sure you buy these shirts, especially the Ali Bedoya one, for such an incredible cause. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone, get some of these shirts because they're just so awesome. I was going to say for you as well, Matt, if the third game happens, has some serious potential for you for some very good business opportunities. Perhaps taking some shirts with you on the road, maybe.
I was gonna say I might have to pack like a box with me and like bring them with me.
And honestly, I know where you can set up shop and probably clean up shop. So we can talk about that later. Maybe after the 8th. Let's see how that goes first. But Matt, any parting words before we go?
Just again, thank you guys so much. And the Philly fan base has been so good to me. I can't thank you guys enough. I hope that if there's a game on the 12th, I get to meet as many of you as possible. But yeah, if you guys order a shirt, take pictures, send them over to me. I love to repost them and share them with people. And yeah, just, hey, if there's something that you guys want to do, if there's like a thing that you've had like rolling around in your head, if you've had an idea, chase it down. Like, don't be afraid to like put that stuff out there. You will be very surprised at the kind of reception you'll get.
Yeah, I think again, Matt, you may have to hold off on that Kai Wagner shirt idea for a little bit until this whole thing gets resolved.
I think we have to wait a little while.
Yeah, probably. On my end for now, again, thank you everybody who's watching, listening, liking our stuff. On my end, the videos I'm putting out, going and cutting some of these press conferences, giving some thoughts, etc. And again, just wanted to reiterate, we acknowledge the Kai situation. We're going to keep an eye on it. If we have to do an emergency pod, we will. But for now, I think we just hold off till November 8th and see what's up. But again, Matt will let me know if there's a discount code of some way to get a discount. I'm sure he would be interested in doing that.
As soon as I have one, it is going to be 10% off across the river. Across the pitch. Love
it.
The pitch.
Well, that's so cool. I always hear that on other podcasts, but not my own. So that's awesome. Yeah. But for now, good night, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. And Dave, I guess we'll try to figure out what we talk about come next Monday. I guess we'll be actually really previewing the Wednesday game on Monday. But for now, I hope you all enjoy and keep an eye out on social. I'll be posting these t-shirts. And Matt, go ahead and send me specific links for each one, and I'll make sure to tag them on my tweets.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
So, Matt, before we do go, Matt, plug your stuff away. Give us all your outs on social medias for not just yourself, but obviously for Bootleg and everything. Plug away. Yeah, so I can be found right now on Instagram and Twitter, just at BootlegMLS or bootleg_MLS. And yeah, I'd love a follow. Actually, I'm going to be doing a giveaway. If I hit 200 followers before the end of the Seattle-Dallas game, I'm going to be giving away 5 shirts today. So if not, I'm going to be giving away 2, which is still something. But I think we probably are over the 200 at this point. So I'm going to plan on 5. But yeah, if you guys want to follow me, it's just bootleg_MLS. And I can't wait to meet all of you guys.
Awesome. Well, for now, have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye, everyone.